Over 1 trillion US dollars wiped out in the market. What is going on? Let's break it down. Hey there, Tommy from Fibonacci-Traders.com here. Daily market recap, like, subscribe, and let's see the charts. Over 1 trillion US dollars just wiped out on September 3rd. Let's break it down. Let's see what happened. All we need to do is look left, and we saw this wiped out during August pullback. Not long ago, 1 month ago, we said that more pullbacks like this, more wipes like this will happen during September. And here we are, the first trading day of September, 2.06% on the SPY. Now, all you need to do is relax and see where price came from and where price might be heading next. That's it. For now, as we can see, SPY broke this structure. We've been talking about this structure in the past few weeks. It broke it to the downside. Now we are heading south to close the gap at the 545. Below it, we have this gap at the 535. And we said we want these two gaps to get filled. Why? First, because we know that more than 85-90% of all gaps will get filled. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So if we know that it's a matter of when, we want these gaps to get filled as fast as possible, as soon as possible. And then we also know that once gaps are getting filled, we get a trend reversal. In this case, these gaps are into the downside. So once these two gaps will get filled, we might see continuation to the 531, maybe even to the 523, and then we will get a trend reversal. In this case, back to the upside, and all these, in my opinion, these two gaps will get filled. The sooner the better in the next week or so, and then some roller coaster ride throughout September, and then going into last Q4 of 2024 with no gaps to the downside, maybe even gaps to the upside, and then 600 and maybe 620 to the upside. RSP 1.3% to the downside, but as you can see, still holding the 173 area as support, breaking below 170, and then this gap at the 169, this trend line. Once again, we get approval that trend lines are the true support and resistance. In this case, resistance, but it's a good resistance. Why? It's a resistance for higher highs. As long as price of RSP is glued, stuck, stays very close to this trend line, the way is up. Breaking below the 173, we are getting further from this trend line, and the way will go down to the 169. QQQ 3% to the downside. Even in August pullback, we did not have this kind of pullback. 3% to the downside. Broke in first, we closed this gap. 465 gap is filled. Next, we are heading south to the 454 area to close this gap, and then the 448 area needs to hold the support, and then we might get the next leg up, the trend reversal to the upside. We've been talking about the QQQ. If you follow me on Twitter, if you follow me here on YouTube, and especially if you're a member in our Discord, the Fibonacci Traders Discord, you know we've been talking about these gaps on the SPY. We've been talking about the QQQ gaps, and we've talking about the QQQ is looking not good. It's looking relative weakness to the SPY because we are below this trend line since the peak of July. Lower highs, and now breaking below and inside the yellow zone. We are heading south to the 455, and then 448. 3 out of 4 time frames, we are bearish. Now, don't start panic. We said this kind of pullbacks, this kind of turbulences, we will meet during September. It's not new to us. The only thing we have full control is our risk management. We are still on the long term. We are still lower, higher lows, which is perfectly fine. So as long as we are above the 450 on the QQQ, we are good to go. 437, breaking below the 437 will not be a good sign for the bulls. Dow Jones 1.4% to the downside, holding strong. Overall, holding strong. The 410 area is support. Look at this. Since August 23rd, it became from resistance to support. Below it, we're heading south to the 405 and then closing the gap at the 400. As long as we're above the 397 area on the Dow Jones, we are still in an uptrend. We have this trend line to follow for the long term, and we have another trend line. Now we have the trend line for these lower highs. Now let's see if this area can hold support. Below it, gap and 397. All across the YouTube, all across the web, social media, everyone will start panicking and start selling you. It's time. It's time to sell everything. The end is here. The end has come. IWM 3% to the downside. Happened over here. 1 month ago. Same thing. We got ourselves some pullback. A very nasty pullback. And then all the way up. Will it happen this time? Very, very similar price action we see over here. The 212 area needs to hold the support. Otherwise, this gap at IWM, the 209 area, will get filled. And then we will look for a support at the 206.40 area. Look left, trade right. 206 area, very important area of resistance. Now needs to hold the support. Below it, we are back to the 196. SOXX, the semiconductors ETF, got beaten today. 7.6% to the downside. Surprising? Not surprising. August 1st, the pullback. 7.3% to the downside. 7.6 today. We are still below this trend line. We've been talking about this trend line, and we said as long as SOXX is below this yellow trend line, there is no long. Now, 210 is the support. Below it, 193 needs to hold. Below the 193, if SOXX will break and close a weekly close, maybe not this week, maybe next week, below the 193, we are heading further south to the 170, 157 area. All this future support that the FTI gives us. Magnificent 7, 3.3% to the downside, not surprising. Same price section as the SOXX. Now we have a gap over here at the 42.82, still open. We need to close the gap, and we will look for support at the 42.30, if not the 42.30, 41.40, and then we will look for a trend reversal. But until then, everything is under falling knife. A very, very hot falling knife. Do not try to catch a falling knife. You know why? Because you will get burned. Let's talk about Apple. 2.7% to the downside. Broke below a very, very important area of support. The 225 area. Very important area of support. Now you have here some kind of a broadening formation. Look at this. You have this one over here, this trend line. Now you also have this trend line over here. Next support, this area, the 219 area, the upper border of the yellow zone, the lower border of this broadening formation. The good side, the positive side on Apple, it's no gaps on Apple to the downside, which means nothing pulls Apple to the downside, which means Apple can and might reverse on the, will find support the 219, and then we'll start trend reversal to the upside. And when Apple goes, the rest of the market follows, most likely. For now, also Apple, no long, do not catch a falling knife. Also Microsoft, 1.85% to the downside, continue to slide down. And this trend line, you know this trend line, we drew it a few weeks back, we drew it. Microsoft continues to slide down on this trend line, holding at the 406 Fibonacci level, breaking below it, 401. If we will break below it and close below the 405 area, below this trend line, the way south, 385 incoming. September is going to be a very wild ride at the stock market. Be prepared. You can sit on your hands. You can do nothing. Perfectly fine. Just do nothing. Look at Nvidia, 9.5% to the downside just one day. And since Nvidia broke this major support, the 122.70, Nvidia just lost 14% in 3 trading days. Is this the end of Nvidia? No one knows. 106 is the next support. Below it, we are heading to this area, the 96 area. For now, also Nvidia, falling knife. Super hot knife, falling. Stay away. Look for a trend reversal. What is a trend reversal? Same as we had here. Found support. 2-3 days closing above this candle. And then look for the trend reversal. Do we have a trend reversal over here? No, we don't. You don't know how to read candlesticks? Perfect. Look for something like this. Found support. Something like double bottom. And then to the way up. By the way, if you follow me on this channel, you know this double top. We've been talking about this double top in the past few weeks or so, and here we are. Now at the neckline, the 102 needs to hold support. Otherwise, 87 incoming on Nvidia. Never say never. Nvidia came all the way from 47 just back in January. Why not give all back? Ignore the name, ignore the company. Trade what you see on the chart. Don't trade what you want to see. Don't trade what anyone else thinks you need to trade. Trade what you see. Google, 3.7% to the downside. 155 now is the support. Otherwise, breaking to the downside. Continuation to the downside. 151. And yes, 143 gap will get filled. And in my opinion, sooner the better. Bearish on all time frames on Google. Amazon, still bullish on all time frames. 1.26% to the downside. Inside candle. Last Friday broke above this downtrend line. Today, Tuesday, held above it. Held above the 175 area with an inside candle, which means bears failed to take Amazon back down. This is why we are still bullish on all time frames on Amazon. Is it a good time to start going long on Amazon? Let's see if Amazon can break above and close above Friday's highs. Then we might take long on Amazon. But be cautious. You're trading against the overall sentiment. Look at Meta. Since it broke this support, the 522 from support, resistance. Where it found support in the last trading day? Tuesday, 508.37, breaking down another 590, 497 and 486. Same as Apple. No gaps to the downside, which means maybe Meta and Apple, once they will start reverse to the upside, they will help the market go up. Tesla 1.6% to the downside. Tesla, we are inside this Browning formation. Let's clean the chart. What do we see? Basically, we see first this trend. We are still below it. Bearish on the daily, bullish on the weekly, because we have higher lows on a higher time frame. Mixed signals from the FTI below this downtrend line. No long on Tesla. 205 support, below it 199, below 199 you have all these supports that the FTI gives you. Check the links in the description below. Choose your path. Choose one program. You have 4 programs. Choose one of them, and I promise you, each program will make you better trader no matter what the market does. AMD broke this trend line, and look how perfect the yellow zone acts as support and resistance. AMD stuck in the yellow zone, 7.8% to the downside. No long on AMD. AMD is going, if this will fail to hold, we need to see an inside candle, maybe tomorrow, inside candle, and then another candle breaking above the 143, below the 136. We are heading to the 130 and 121. Netflix 3.7% to the downside. Netflix just took down the 680 support. It was a very important area of resistance, then became support, now broke down and under. 663 is the next support. Palantir 3% to the downside. 3050 is the support, below it 2860. If you're looking to go long on Palantir, in my opinion, no good entry on for long. AVGO 6.16% to the downside, inside the yellow zone. AVGO, Thursday, we have earnings. Stay away from AVGO until after the earnings. 150 is the support, below it 145. Eli Lilly, holding nice, relative strength, only 0.3% to the downside. Eli Lilly, in the past 10 trading days, more or less, nothing much. Moving sideways, the 972 area, very tough resistance. You can see it here. We have a gap. This is why we don't have bullish continuation, because we have a gap to the downside, and gaps are like magnets to price action. This gap needs to get filled. Eli Lilly needs to hold support at the 920 area, and then we will look for a trend reversal. MicroStrategy 7.6% to the downside, back inside the yellow zone, found support at the lower border of the yellow zone. Downtrend continuation 113 and 102. SMCI ended up green, almost 1% to the upside, but still inside a very steep downtrend. 3 consecutive dojis. 395 is the next support. Below it, this gap at the 333 will get filled. Don't go anywhere. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, because I found stocks that went green on the day, and they are worth watching in the coming days. IRDM, Iridium Communication, ended up the day with 5.6% to the upside. We have here some kind of a double bottom scenario, long continuation above 2730, and we will see 2790 and then 29 to the upside. CHD, Church and Dwight Company, 3.3% to the upside, broke the yellow zone. Now let's see continuation above Tuesday's highs, towards the 107. Next, very tough resistance. But if we can catch some long and red days and we can find green stocks, perfectly fine. VFC 3.4% to the upside. We have here a very nice channel that takes us higher highs, higher lows. We can take the Fibonacci trend lines. We are inside an uptrend channel, bullish on all time frames. 18 area, the 18 area holding support, long continuation 2020 and 2170. STZ, look at this, very nice breakup, 2.5%, long continuation above the 250 area, and we are going north, 253 and 258, our next targets. And PEP, PepsiCo, 2.7% to the upside, bullish on all time frames, long continuation above the 178, and we will see 180 to the upside, and then 184 and 187. So I hope you found this video helpful, educational. If so, like, subscribe. If not, let me know in the comments below why not. Until the next video, until the next live, stay safe.